What's good? The purpose of this video is to show you what Lyft offers drivers to give these rides. You can determine for yourself whether this is actually worth it or not. As you can see, Lyft is only paying $7.16. The trip that you're going to be traveling is 12.8 miles to give somebody a ride between pickup and drop off. We don't get paid to pick people up, and as you can see right here, it says pay includes pickup. They're not paying me to pick somebody up. Come on, 12.8 miles, and that's including pickup. You're not paying me anything extra. Now, if I was right down the street from this person, they would be offering around $4 or $5. So I guess you can say that they're paying for the pickup or whatever, meaning that they charge the passenger extra, which is less likely that they are doing that. Still, at the same time, would you actually do this trip? Would you put 12.8 miles on your car, 22 minutes of your time to give somebody a ride who may puke in your car, who may be disrespectful to you? You don't know how this situation will end. Here is another ride. They're paying $7.05. You're going to be putting a total of 9.9 miles on your car, 21 minutes of time, just to make $7.05. And just in case if you're wondering what this means right here, $20.14 hour estimate rate for this ride. What that means is that if I accept more rides like this based off of the time between pickup and drop off, then I would average around $20.14. But however, at the same time, you have to keep in mind, we're not being paid to pick passengers up. And the only way that you're going to be compensated for that pickup distance and time is if the passenger tips, which a lot of passengers do not tip. So again, that's 9.9 miles for only $7.04. Like you're not driving a 2-ton car that you have to gas up and do maintenance costs on. You can't afford to do this when they're paying this kind of rate. Here's another ride, $10.16. 12 miles for $10.16. Now, as a driver, drivers, they look for rides where the payout on the ride is around $2 per mile. So in order to really get that, you can't be looking at the pickup distance because they're hardly ever going to pay $2 per mile. If you just take away the distance to the pickup and you just look at the distance that the passenger is traveling, it's still not even $2 per mile. But yeah, 12 miles, 29 minutes. This is why, again, this rideshare thing is being more of an issue than anything. Another issue that I had with this particular ride, the passenger, this is the same ride I was just showing, but other issue that I had with this particular ride is that the passenger added the stop after I picked them up. If you're a passenger, understand this. We accept trips based off of what they're showing us, the total distance, time, and the miles are. Okay, so when you add a stop, we don't know what they're going to pay us at that point. And we're only doing trips that's worth it to us. And if you're a person and you're looking at this video and you're thinking, well, I mean, you signed up for the job, I don't see what the problem is and everything, or whatever. Yeah, but at the same time, you're altering the trip information because you're adding a stop after you already requested the ride. And not only that, but you think that we don't know that you know where you're going. It's not often that people ever decide, you know what, I want to stop at the store. We can look at your rating on your account and we can tell whether this is an ongoing issue or anything. And anytime we run into any issues with people, we usually, yep, that's why their rating is so low. Because we get to the pickup location and we're waiting there for 3 or 4 minutes and you're just now coming out and getting into the car. We know that the reason why you got a bad rating is because you're never ready at pickup. If we catch you dirtying up our car, we know that the reason why you have a poor rating is because you're always dirtying up our car, eating in our car, slamming our car doors, being disrespectful and everything like that. And it's just like, why are people doing this and everything? Why do you not respect the individual that can ask you to get out of their car? But most people are just scared that you're going to turn around and falsely accuse them of sexual harassment, being under the influence, reckless driving. Although Lyft does monitor our stops, our acceleration, they monitor our steering, all of this stuff. So even then, they may deactivate our account. But at the same time, when we get a human being on the phone or we talk to a human being through messaging in the app, they will be able to look at the details and say that that passenger was lying. But ultimately, what the driver wants is for you to lose access to the app. So add your stops before you request the ride so the driver can make a decision whether they want to take the trip or not. Because when you change things, the driver, in most cases, because I have, when people have changed the route, I've taken them back to the pickup location, or I pulled over and I asked them to get out the car. I'll hit the panic button, get the cops here. You're going to get out the car. I told you, I'm not doing the trip. You changed and altered those details. Lyft shouldn't allow you to do it. But the fact that you did do it, that's the problem. And if you don't ask the driver if that's okay, because the driver might have accepted your ride request because they can still make their appointment. They can still have time to go pick up their kids. But when you alter the information, now you're not heading in the same direction that they're going in. Now this ride is going to take longer, and this is why drivers would end up canceling or asking you to exit the vehicle. Here's a perfect example right here. If you look down here, I'm showing the arrow right now where I'm just drawing it. That person has a 4.8 rating on their account. 4.8 rating. That is a poor rating. All right, you start off with 5 stars, and then you go from 5 stars to a 4.9, 4.98, 4.97. And this person has a 4.8 rating. Now, most drivers are not going to accept this ride request, not just because of the rating, but also the amount that the driver is receiving to do the ride. So you're looking at here, you have 3 miles total that the driver has to take the passenger, and the passenger has a stop. So the pay is including the stop. It's including the stop. Now, if the passenger exceeds more than 2 minutes, then you'll get paid 6 cents per minute. So you have the opportunity to make an extra 12 pennies. An extra 12 pennies if they exceed a certain amount of time at the stop. So it's 2 red flags on this person. This person has a poor rating. Lyft is not offering the driver enough money for the rating, which is me. And so this is why I didn't want to take the ride itself. This ride, $5.17. The total of 6.1 miles I'll be putting on my car for $5.17. Chances are I have to look at the app. I think I did accept this ride or whatnot. I usually don't accept rides under $5. It doesn't make any sense. I don't want to accept anything under $10, but they're not going to just send me 3 $10 rides or 4 or 5 $10 rides in 1 hour. So I have to lower myself and dilute what I really want to make on a ride just to make some sort of money throughout that day. Here's another one, 14.6 miles, 14.6 miles for $12.05. It is going to take me over a half hour of time to complete this trip. And I think I did accept this trip. And as you can see, the passenger has a 4.9 rating. 4.9, I'll take a 4.9 because it could be a 4.99, 4.98, 4.97. It's a couple of different reasons to accept this particular trip. So again, like I said, the goal is to at least get $2 per mile. And on this particular one, if I'm only looking at the distance the passenger is traveling, then I need to make at least $16 off of here, not $12.05. Now, if I look at the total miles, and the total miles being over, 14 miles, then I need $28 for it. I'm not going to get $28 for them. So, in certain cases, if I can know that if the pickup distance is short, then I'll take the trip. But a lot of drivers, they don't see offers that often where it's over $10. And if you have a daily goal to get to $100 or $200, you're still likely to go ahead and take this particular trip. And again, that's up to the driver, but most drivers, they may not even accept this one. 10.5 miles for $7.15. 16.7 miles for $13.17. 9 miles for $7.16, 18 minutes of time. 9.7 miles for $7.17, 20 minutes. And as you can see, the estimate hourly rate is $21.21. Usually if I see the estimate hourly rate and it's around $28 to $30, then I'll accept the trip like this. But I don't tend to take trips like this because I need to make almost $10 for this ride. And that's only by looking at the travel distance the passenger is traveling. The total distance being that it's 9 miles, I need $18 to make a profit off of this particular trip. But I also don't like going on this side of the water. I don't have an issue with water or nothing like that. But I know that if I take a trip on this side of the water, I'm going to have to travel from this side of the water back across to the other side. That's the primary market. That's where all of the pickups are. And that's where most of the drop-offs are. So the idea is to strategize when you're doing this, not to just accept every ride request that they send to you. Here's another trip, 10 miles, 23 minutes, $7.15. Here's another trip, 5.8 miles. Most likely I accepted this trip, not because it was worth it, because it's not worth it, but accepting the trip because of where the passenger was dropping off, which is middle of Toledo, well, downtown Toledo area. So it wasn't, it was a bad trip, but it did get me to where I needed to get to in the first place. So why not take something that's going to drop off in a more busier area? Here's another trip, 5.4 miles, $6 for that. I would accept that trip at $8. Not likely that I'm going to accept the trip at $6.02. Again, I look for hourly ratings that average out to $30, not trips that average out under that. I mean, I may accept something that's 28, but it depends on the total miles for that particular trip. 4.3 miles on this trip. I did accept it, and I accepted it because the hourly estimate would have been $39.05, meaning if I'd accepted more trips like this, then at the end of the hour, I would have made almost $40 per hour. Now, I didn't necessarily want to accept it because the passenger has a 4.8 rating, and we already discussed that one. Now, I did make a mistake, and I did accept this trip on this particular one, and that's because when I accepted it, I didn't notice the actual rating itself, and so that's why I ended up accepting it. But here's what ended up happening. I ended up canceling that. Now, I know what some people may say, well, why did you cancel it? It's about money. It's not about the rating. Here's the reason. When you see a rating that is declining, someone with poor rating, you have to look at the time of day it is also. Okay, so again, you don't want to get into a residential neighborhood, especially if the neighborhood is bad. You don't want to get into a residential neighborhood and you're just sitting there because that person gets bad ratings because they're never ready at pickup. First off, the first few minutes of you waiting there, you're not getting paid anything. All right. And then on top of that, if you cancel, you may risk that person saying that you were intoxicated or you were under the influence, and they're the ones that was going to cancel the ride, but the driver ended up canceling it when you were walking away, and they got charged a cancellation fee or no-show fee or whatever because they came out to the car right when the time expired. Okay, so a lot of drivers have faced that. I've been deactivated for passengers who I never even picked up. They never even got in my car. And I've gotten deactivated because they said that I was intoxicated, under the influence, or whatever the case is. And I'm pissed off because I'm like, they never even got in my car. And I did a ride before them. In some cases, you don't get deactivated until after your next following ride. So they have all the proof that the driver is not intoxicated, but nevertheless, they allow that passenger to go in and still do that. Now, on this particular trip, 10.6 miles, it was a little bit over 20 minutes, 22 minutes, and I did accept this trip, and that's because accepting more trips like that, I would be making $35.91 an hour. So, again, even though I may not like the total miles on some trips because I'm not getting $2 a mile when it comes down to both pickup and drop off, I did accept this trip because I'm getting at least $2 a mile on the drop off. So my thing is what Lyft should be doing is Lyft should be paying drivers. This goes for Uber as well. They should be paying drivers $2 per mile based off of the greater distance. So if the ride that you accepted, if the pickup distance on that ride is, like in this case, it's 4 miles for the pickup, but the drop off is 6.6 miles. So paying the driver $12 for this particular trip, more drivers will be more likely to accept the trip, because at least you're paying $2 a mile for the greater distance. I think that they would actually profit a hell of a lot more money if they were to do that. If they were to do this, they would make a lot more money. But because, again, we're not being paid for the total distance. We're not being paid for that pickup distance. So if the passenger is 8 miles away, but they're traveling 3 miles, I should get $16 for that. And that's because I'm 8 miles away from that passenger. So I'm going to be looking at the total miles, but I'm likely to accept the trip because I'm getting $2 a mile for the greater distance, being the pickup versus the drop off. So on this particular week, which was this week that just ran through, I made $1,090. This doesn't exclude what I had to spend on gas itself. Also, you can notice that I also made an average of $36.99 for the week. The total rides that I completed was 94 rides, and I also rejected 100 rides. So that's a total of 194 rides that was sent to me, and I drove for 30 hours. My book time, meaning the time I spent between pickup and drop off of the passengers, is 26 hours. But that also means that over 4 hours time, I was sitting there online and rejecting ride requests or just waiting for a ride request. So, and the total miles that I ended up putting on my car was 5,045 miles. And again, as you can see, 545, and you look at what I actually made, I came close to making $2 a mile. Now, granted that on this particular week, also you have to look at the fact that I did receive one ride challenge, the bonuses on that ride challenge. And here's the breakdown on that end. Bonus hours, I received a total of $256 on bonus hours. And other bonuses, which are usually area bonuses, I made $125. The ride challenge I completed, got $85 off of that. Scheduled ride premium, which was $8.46. On that particular week, this past week, I only received $34 in tips. So if you're thinking that doing this, you're going to be able to average out what you're not making on a tip, on a pickup off of tips, that is not true. Not true. The total rides that I completed was 94 rides. 94 rides, and as you can see, I only received the total of one, and let me mark it off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tips. I'm sorry, that's not 6 tips, that's 6 days. And as you can see on here, the total tips that, well, here you see $2 on the 25th, you see the $5 to $2, and then you see the $5 and then a $16. And I'm sorry because I'm looking at this 2025 everything. So on the 20th, I received that one tip there. 22nd, I received one tip on the 22nd. And on the 23rd, I received $5 in tips. So on that particular day, it could have been 2 tips or maybe just $1. And then on the 24th, I received a total of $16 in tips. And then on the 25th, $3. 26th, I received $3 with a total of 7 tips on that particular day. So 7 tips out of 94 rides. That means 87 riders did not tip me. 87 riders did not even consider leaving a tip on the app. This is why drivers cherry pick, because passengers don't want to take responsibility and cover the free pickup costs of the driver. Well, free pickup for them, and it's a cost to the driver. They are not balancing that out. Don't drive a long distance to pick up a passenger. Don't accept a ride request where passengers are not willing to pay you enough money to do that. Lyft is going to take most of the fare. They're going to take most of the fare in all cases. Lyft always claims that you're getting 70%. They went public and they told all passengers as well as drivers that drivers get up to 70% of the fare after fees. After fees. So that means that Lyft takes their fees out, their platform fees, insurance costs, any taxes and everything, whatever, on the corporate end, not taxes from what the driver is paid. And you're getting 70% after all of that. So they're taking out another 30%. So again, a lot of drivers, they don't like that. We should be getting paid more money on rides. If we were, then we would have a higher acceptance rate. My current acceptance rate is 63%, only because I can only drive when they're offering bonus hours. If I drive when they're not offering bonus hours, my acceptance rate continues to go down. It's not going to go up if I'm driving outside of bonus hours. So I choose to drive when they're offering me bonus hours, and this helps me consistently make money. Now, sometimes when there's not offering any bonuses, like today, I may go online and I may do some rides regardless of the fact that I'm not getting any bonus hours. However, at the same time, I had to really reduce my miles on the rides. I can't sit here and go out and end up doing all kinds of ridiculous miles on my car. We only, if cars would last a lifetime, maybe people wouldn't care as much. But you have to get an oil change every 4,000 miles. You have to go get a transmission flush, a radiator flush. You have to keep getting new tires. With doing this, tires, good tires anyway, seasonal tires, you're looking at spending about $250 per tire. That's $500 in the front, $500 in the back. You're looking at, if you are smart, you are looking at replacing your brakes about once a year, especially if you're a full-time driver. You're not going to replace your rotors once, every so many months, but you are going to replace the brakes, and that's so that you can make the rotors last longer. It's cheaper when you go in and you just do a brake change versus you going out and you happen to get brakes and rotors done. For me to get my brakes and rotors done, even with the Lyft discount, I'm looking at spending around $1,400. If I get brakes done, like the last time I went and I got my brakes and rotors done, I spent around $700 to get the front and the rear done at the same time. And they put some low grade rotors and brakes on my car, because now I have to go out and I have to buy more brakes and rotors, and it's the same exact year. I just had my car inspected and they said that I needed new brakes and rotors. So granted, if I would have got my brakes done after about 3 or 4 months, then I probably wouldn't have to get my rotors done right now as well. So all in all, the point is that there are costs inside of this. So you can't go around just picking up everybody, because you're only going to have that car for a certain amount of time. And if your car note is $500 or $400 a month, then you got to tack on insurance costs. And as a driver, you have to let the insurance company know that you're using your car for commercial purposes. And because of that, they're going to increase your rates. Every time when drivers go and they renew their car insurance policy, they're going to look at how many miles you put on a car. So if the average person in that market only puts about, in a 6 months time, only puts about, say, 1,200 miles on their car, they're going to look at the fact that you have put 6,000 or 7,000 miles on your car. So they know something is up, but they're going to charge you more because you're using your vehicle more. So that means that you're at a higher risk. So you have to pay more in commercial auto insurance. Drivers literally cannot afford to keep on doing rides on these apps. I appreciate you for watching and listening. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. And please like, share, and subscribe. Helps with the algorithm. And hopefully, eventually, I can monetize my channel, because I would like to make some money.